Here.
Director Cole? Director Thomas? Director Stewart?
Present.
Do you have a quorum?
Thank you. Great. Well, today we have a really packed agenda full of 3 presentation items. Up first, we're going to hear from Jamie Parker, our Chief of Staff, to give us an update on our stormwater fee and right-of-way fee development process. Thank you.
And also let the record reflect that Director Thomas is present. Thank you.
Thank you. Before we jump into my presentation, I wanted to introduce the committee to our new Director of Strategic Planning here. Sorry, he's Tyler Russell. He's a couple of weeks on the job, but comes to us with a lot of experience. I'll let him say a few words to introduce himself, but we're thrilled to have him as part of the team.
Awesome.
Nice to meet you all. Happy to be here. Yeah, like I said, come from City Hall, worked on strategic planning and public policy issues for years. Recognized Director Stewart from the City Planning Commission and worked with Tyler over the years. So happy to be here.
Thanks.
We're glad to have you. Welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah, Tyler and I have known each other for a number of years. We've already had a couple of really great meetings, and we're thrilled to have him in this position and excited to get to work.
Okay, so first up is an update on the stormwater fee and the right-of-way fee development. This will be a very brief update, but as the committee recalls, just last month, the board approved a contract amendment for Reftelis, who is our stormwater fee consultant, to do an expanded scope of work. And this was at the request of the city to explore and develop a right-of-way improvement fee that would, has been proposed to help fund kind of comprehensive holistic street maintenance, water system repairs, roadway rehabilitation, as well as building in-house capacity to handle these improvements. So with that approval from the board, Reftelis has begun work on this right-of-way fee. They are in the process of gathering the necessary data to develop the rate structure and determining the revenue needs and requirements, and then finalizing the best approach for the fee in terms of what should be used as the mechanism. So in past meetings, we've shared that the stormwater fee would be using an equivalent residential unit approach, or the ERU, and that's based on impervious area. And so Reftelis is essentially trying to do the same thing for the right-of-way fee. It won't be an ERU, but what should it be? And then how is that metric or mechanism used to create a rate structure for each parcel? So that is in the works. It's still projected to be an 8-week roughly turnaround. So that would be mid-August when they would have a proposal for the board to consider. Of course, this depends on the availability and receipt of certain data, but that is also in progress. You know, I'd just like to reiterate that we're continuing to collaborate with the city and the council in this effort. We hold regular meetings now. It appears we're approaching on a weekly basis, so there's continual communication and collaboration on that, and we will continue to keep the committee updated as Reftelis approaches the end of this expanded scope of work.
Real quick question. So during the process of our understanding the amendment more, I think directors had a number of conversations with folks from the city. And there were a number of questions I know I asked that they said, well, this is what we want Reftelis to tell us. And so how do we, or how do I, and maybe other people feel the same, how do I make sure that those questions are considered in whatever work that Reftelis is doing so that they can be answered when this project is complete?
I'm happy to take those questions and we'll relay them directly to the administration's team who's involved in this. I can do that.
Okay, all right, great.
Yeah, I can also say to that point, I've been sitting in on these weekly calls with the city and have observed both the staff advocating on the board's position, as is obviously their role to do. And I've also been, a pretty strong advocate for the concerns that the board raised during previous sessions about this particular fee.
Perfect, thanks.
Just real quick, Jamie, I know you mentioned the fee development. I think at one point in time, the scope was even discussing the feasibility of it. So now we're moving away from that. It's now considered feasible and we're just developing it.
I'd say that's a part of the development is also looking at the feasibility and ensuring there's a legal process that we're following appropriate legal standards and it can withstand legal challenge.
Okay. And the data that we're waiting on, do you anticipate it's going to push back that mid-August or?
I don't think so. From what I understand, this is potentially available via the assessor's office.
Okay.
If we can coordinate that, getting it and requesting the correct data sets.
So it's not like we're waiting on a party, we just need to?
Right,
Okay.
yes.
Okay.
Is the board going to be meeting in August this year? Historically, we haven't. Do we know?
I may have to report back on that. I don't know for sure.
The only reason I ask is I think I would like to see if the board does have meetings in August, that this committee would meet again and that we could have Reftelis come and share their progress on the project at that time. Whether they're done or not, I think it would be good to hear from them as we are. This is our contract. The contract is with the Sewage and Water Board. And so I think that it would be appropriate for us to receive an update on their work in detail, as is our fiduciary responsibility, since it is our funds that's paying for the project.
Absolutely.
Agreed.
Any other questions about this item? All right, great. Thanks, Jamie, and welcome, Tyler. We'll be looking forward to hearing more from you all later. Up next, I will bring forward Jillian Croce, who is going to give us an update on our Environmental Affairs Division's Green Infrastructure Initiatives. So welcome, Jillian.
Thank you, and good morning, everyone. Thanks for having me today. For those of you I don't know, my name is Jillian Croce, and I'm an infrastructure project manager with our environmental affairs team. And today I'm going to be talking to you about our green infrastructure workshop series that we kicked off earlier this year. I'm really excited about this. I started with the board about 2.5 years ago, and this was something I really wanted to see us accomplish. But I also do want to make sure that I give credit where it's due. And our landscape architect, Grace Vogel, is really the one responsible for coordinating and co-hosting these events and getting this off the ground. Unfortunately, she wasn't able to be here because of a scheduling conflict, but want to make sure that she's highlighted. So first, before we jump into the individual workshops, I really wanted to discuss the intentions behind the workshops and also highlight some of the benefits. Our main goal is really just to bring some in-depth knowledge to our residents so that we can grow the number of green infrastructure projects in the city and try to make it more accessible for our residents to install GI on their properties if they'd like to do that. So that's really our main goal. But we also appreciate that each of us has a unique way of learning. So doing these workshops helps us pair sort of lecture and classroom style with live in-person demonstrations so that we're bringing both of those perspectives and making sure that we're communicating as effectively as possible to as many people as possible. We also, we're very intentional. We want to bring these workshops to our residents. So the plan is that we're bringing these workshops to different neighborhoods around the city. We don't want transportation to be a barrier to someone getting this information. So we're really being intentional about those decisions and in that planning. I also wanted to just point out that our team has really done an amazing job of fostering relationships with community groups and community partners over the years. So we're able to lean on them and leverage their subject matter expertise. They're coming to these events and helping us teach and helping us answer questions. So that's been really amazing, and we're very, very thankful to those groups for doing that. Lastly, just wanted to point out that this does help us meet requirements of the consent decree as well as our MS4 permit. And it also aligns with our GI strategy that we brought to this committee last year that we're finalizing and will bring back again to you at some point, hopefully soon. So to dive in, our first workshop was back in March, and it focused on bioretention, so think bioswales and rain gardens. This was hosted in Hollygrove. So we started out at the Level Ground Community Church for a lecture, and then we went a few blocks away to the Hollygrove Community Gardens, this is a mouthful, Olive Street Remediation Project, where we got to look at bioretention in the real world. So Grace she presented an overview of our drainage system and then talked about the benefits of green infrastructure. And then Todd Reynolds from Groundwork New Orleans was able to provide in-depth details on different types of bioretention that he and his team have installed and maintain around the city. So we got to look at how things function. We had a small but mighty group for this first one, but we lucked out with the timing because Groundwork New Orleans was partially through the construction of the community garden project. So we kind of got to see as it was being installed and then what it looks like when it's finished. People got to see it in real time. They did some flushing with water to see how the bioretention was capturing water. We got to see that in real time. Our second workshop was just last month in June, and it featured permeable pavement. So we geared this workshop towards industry professionals, and we held it on a weekday morning to accommodate their schedule. And we hosted it at our Bayou St. John Green Infrastructure site, which has two different types of permeable pavement. So again, Todd Reynolds and his Groundwork New Orleans team took us through the process that they use to test out the permeability of the permeable pavers to determine if they need maintenance, and then brought us through how they need to be maintained. So do they need to be pressure washed? Do they need to have vacuumed out sort of the gunk, to use professional terms, in between the crevices that are preventing the permeability? Murray Consultants were also there. They are a partner of ours on the Bayou St. John site, and they're doing water quality testing for us. So we were able to talk through what does the drainage look like and how does it work. We also got to talk through the pros and cons of both types of the permeable pavement, and had some Q&A with a lot of the industry professionals who are responsible for maintaining permeable pavement around the city. But we also had a couple of residents there as well who were interested. So moving forward, our goal is to do quarterly workshops so we can gauge impact and attendance. So in Q3, we will be having a workshop with Greenlight New Orleans, where we'll be exploring rain barrels. And so that's going to be in September. Q4, during planting season, we'll have a tree planting workshop. So we'll have more details about that as we sort that out as we get closer. Thinking forward to next year, there are definitely some topics we'd like to explore. For example, the nexus of urban agriculture and green infrastructure. There's definitely a plethora of green infrastructure maintenance topics that we could discuss. That's a big point for folks who do install green infrastructure. And then also, because we are going out to the neighborhoods, we can bring the same topic to different neighborhoods to make sure that folks are getting that information. So we do think this has some longevity to it. And then lastly, I wanted to sneak this in. It's a bit of an adjacent success, but some of you may recall that late last year in October, Dr. Chuck and Grace presented on a tree training that they were doing. So the first tree training they did was at the end of last year with the support services team, and that focused on tree planting and tree establishment, which is really helpful for those folks. They're coming across trees a lot as they're taking care of our canals. So they customized the training to be about that. But they've since then gone back and customized the information again. So in April of this year, they went out to our electrical shop and did a training where they focused on tree trimming, so that as that group is trimming trees around the electrical wires, they're not damaging the trees, they're not imbalancing the trees. So they learned how to do that in a way that is effective and will cause the least amount of damage as we take care of our infrastructure. What's really exciting is that in this month, in July, they've gone back and customized the information again, and will be doing 4 different classes, all the same, but to reach the giant networks team that we have. They're customizing that training to talk about the critical root zone of trees. So as a networks team is digging to get to our pipes and our other infrastructure, they're doing so in a way that causes the least amount of harm to the trees as possible. So I just think this is a really great effort. We have participation from Grace, Lindsay Shapley, who is with our JIRR team, Amanda Walker with Parks and Parkways, and then Dr. Angela Chalk with Healthy Community Services. And they're all doing this and getting together, customizing this information, and donating their time to train our employees on how we can be in harmony with the tree canopy that we have, and the increasing tree canopy that so many folks are working on. So I wanted to highlight this work for you as well. And with that, that's the end of my presentation. Happy to answer any questions, and thank you again for your time.
Yes, I have a question. Are there any cooperative projects along with DPW? I would think for the permeable pavement projects that you guys are doing, for things like sidewalks and projects that DPW may already be having money allotted for. Are we doing anything in cooperation with DPW?
To actually install or maintain the permeable pavement? No, not at the moment.
Okay.
So I have a quick question, but I'll have a comment first. Green infrastructure has become one of my favorite sewage and water board topics because it's so forward-looking and it's always hopeful. So thanks for the presentation, and if I smile a lot, that's because this is a bright spot in all the things we have to talk about. How are you measuring, or how are we measuring effectiveness of the workshops? Do we have any types of metrics or anything that we're following to make sure that the way we're approaching it is the best way to go about it?
Right now, we're counting participants. Other than that, no. We have thought about doing a survey to get feedback from folks. But right now, we're just concentrating on metrics and seeing what the interest is and who we're reaching. We do a lot of advertisement through our community partners to try to reach their base, as well as our communications team supports us on social media, putting out flyers and that sort of thing. So we're starting with that, and then we'll grow from there, and open to any suggestions you may have.
Yeah, I think starting with who comes out over the series makes sense, right? But it might be helpful, especially if you go back a couple slides, like you did this one, the rain barrel one, Oh. So you do that, you have a conversation with folks about it, you put things out there. Maybe you do, like you said, a survey to follow up if people have put rain barrels in, how was your usage of it? Did you see a change? Or those types of questions you would know better than me, because it's an opportunity to collect data and then use that data to inform the way we do things moving forward, and just make sure we're being smart about our problem. But I think the program is fantastic.
Thank you for that.
The community partners, it's the ones that you've been referencing on this slide. And if it's more than that, like how are you doing a reach with the multiple neighborhoods?
In terms of the folks who are presenting with us, or?
Well, just in the workshops in general, like Q3, Q4, how are you selecting what neighborhoods to go to, and like who's your community partners in doing that?
So for the neighborhoods, we're looking at where we have demonstration areas that are most helpful. So, for example, if we're partnering with the Groundworks, they had the spot in Holly Grove that was a really great example of bioretention. So that sort of drove our decision to go to Holly Grove. And I think we'll do that as well with our other partners. So in choosing those partners, we have sort of a list of folks that we work with pretty often. For the tree planting, we'll look at our partners, perhaps Soul or one of the other tree canopy groups, and reach out. We're asking for this, pro bono, so we're really just whoever is available and willing to partner with us is really what's driving that. And then what's convenient to their sites that they're currently have, and we can go and be on site and have those live demonstrations.
Got it. Okay, so the partners are kind of driving the location.
At this moment, yes.
Okay.
Is there a request on the website for partners for this? Because this is great. You know, are we encouraging more partners and participation on our website?
Not for this in particular. I think, we have these established partnerships, and again, because we're asking for it pro bono, we're leaning on those partnerships that we have and those relationships that we have. But I think that would be great. We definitely want to expand as, new partners are coming up for more than just this. And so anyone we can find and new connections we have, I think we're really excited for those, to build those.
Yeah, I think nonprofits would be excited to work with you. Just, maybe if we can gear towards that website so that people can put that interest out. I think that's awesome.
Thank you.
Just one more question, Mr. Chair. Back to the point about effectiveness, can you help me understand how these workshops fit into the larger stormwater management strategy? And then even more specifically, what are the workshops supposed to help us do? And maybe an obvious question, but it'd be helpful to know what your objective is for these workshops, not just for each workshop, but big picture for the program. What are we trying to achieve, and how does that fit into our stormwater management strategy?
Sure. I could speak to our green infrastructure strategy and then may pass it. So one of the first tenets that we're looking at, our first priority, is to focus on decentralized green infrastructure. So meaning, how do we get as many GI assets in the city as possible? And one fantastic opportunity is for our residents to be installing green infrastructure at their property. And so to do that, we really see that as sort of our niche, because the city's also working on green infrastructure. We have this one-to-one customer relationship that's unique to us. So how can we work with our residents and support them? And I think one of the ways that we can do that is by providing education and direction. And so this fits into that mission by supporting, we want you to put in green infrastructure. It's going to help you. It's going to be great. But when we came last year, the question came up, you go online to Google green infrastructure, and it's like, well, where do you start? There's so much information. You're trying to parcel through it. So that's what we really wanted to try to address with the workshops, is start off in these small bite-sized pieces to say, okay, this is what a rain garden is. This is how you could do this on your property. Same with the rain barrels. The permeable pavement, that's why we geared that more towards industry professionals, because that's something that's often better done by a professional, and more often done by professionals rather than residents. People tend not to have the equipment to clean out the permeable pavers that they need. So that's really where it's fitting in with the GI strategy.
Okay.
And then I can pass that question off for the larger stormwater management strategy.
Yeah, sure. So, overall, managing stormwater, in a city such as New Orleans is a multi-pronged, multi-focus area, and certainly great infrastructure is where we talk about a lot, but we know that great infrastructure is really important to that. So this is one element of that. And, while we're not in a position where we have, a lot of funding available to us to do individual projects, and we are certainly, and I just as a segue or sidebar, really do want to credit Jillian and Grace and the GI team are always looking for opportunities for funding for projects. They do a great job of that. But in the absence of that, we know there is a lot of local community interest in taking matters into their own hands on their own property, and that's what these efforts are doing, is support that.
One thing I would add, because I've been in a unique situation when it comes to green infrastructure. I was with St. Louis when it was looked at as being a weird science, and we had to fight for it. And then DC modified their consent decree to bring in green infrastructure, and then Philadelphia was the king of green infrastructure and all. But what we have to do is, through this program, you're bringing in buy-in acceptance and promotion
Okay.
of the project that'll help us get to our ultimate goals.
Yeah, and it's so helpful, Randy, what you're saying, because, you know, and it fits, this is strategic planning. And I imagine everything that we're doing is very strategic. And so I'm always trying to think, what problem are we solving? What is our objective here? It sounds like, to Randy's point, there is a buy-in that needs to happen. So that's a part, right? That's one of the strategic objectives. And maybe, you know, as Director Thomas mentioned, there's community engagement, there's a need for more revenue, which with buy-in, maybe revenue would come to the table. I'd be interested to know if we have gotten into the level of granularity on our goals with, okay, you're gonna do 4 workshops. What is the anticipated reach with those workshops? What is the anticipated impact of that reach, right? So that we can measure our efforts, SMART goals. And then for us to be able to talk about it is to really understand the litany of objectives you're trying to achieve with all of these, because I know we're doing some good things, right? But tell us all the good things that we're doing with these initiatives.
Good point. So what we want to do is go back and develop a matrix of some kind to help to show the benefit of each of these steps.
Yeah. And I think the community, obviously, community needs to know these things as well.
And also, if there's any corporate sponsors, I think corporate partners are really, really good, because if you survey, while I can get excited about this and there's no funding, which everybody knows there's a gap in funding, but if we have more corporate sponsors that could possibly sponsor some of the materials, at least at the workshops and things like that, when you go back and do those surveys, you can see how many people actually went ahead and put that up, which goes to the effectiveness of the program. So,
I love that idea. Thank you, yeah.
I don't know if it's got a little bit off topic, but you mentioned doing water quality monitoring in the Bayou St. John area. Some of these, those have been online a couple of years now, those projects. The, I guess the bioswales and whatnot.
How many years is it they've been doing that? Is that, I think they are in year 2 of the water quality testing.
Right, are you seeing what kind of differences are you seeing in the quality?
There's not enough data to assess. They had, some of the equipment is not functioning. We actually have to, the line is blocked right now, so we're gonna have to address that. So they're not able to collect from 2 of the ports. Okay. So for reference, there are essentially 4 different mediums that we're looking at the water quality at the beginning of the site. So when it's coming in fresh off the road, and then there are 4 ports that each represent, one is the permeable pavers, one is the paving grid you can see, another are trees, and then another is just a native garden. And so each of those have its own port so that we can look at the water quality after it's been filtered to assess the effectiveness of each of those mediums. So we're not yet at a point where we can make an assessment or analyze that, but the plan is for 5 years of data to be collected. So, I think once we get the pipe issue cleared up and the sampling can start again in all 4 ports, we'll be able to start looking at that, in a couple more quarters once we get a little more data.
Okay, yeah, I'd like to see that. And you're testing for like suspended solids, or is there?
We are, heavy metals, I think, is another one. I think maybe fecal coliform as well. So there's quite a few that we're testing for.
Okay. Yeah, I'm curious the results.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see those as well.
Any other questions? Great. Well, I think this was, as always, a great presentation. Always want to recognize the team, Jillian and Grace and Ryan and others working to do really incredible proactive, future-thinking, innovative work on behalf of the utility. And I think as we've all sort of memorialized, the more that we can communicate this work to the public, and also the more that we can sort of recognize the multiple benefits of this type of work within the utility, I think it's critical. So thank you so much. Up next, we have an update from Mr. Dave Capel on the drainage consolidation update. It's been about 6 months since we heard about their plan for how we were going to maintain the minor drainage system. And so I thought it would be a good time to just get an update mid-year on how that process is going. So, Dave,
Everyone, good to see you again. Yeah, I can't believe it's been 6 months.
or good afternoon, I guess.
Yeah, good afternoon. Y'all all hungry like me?
Yes,
I start early.
this was gone by the time I got here, so.
Okay, let's start then. All right.
No.
So just to kind of recap, I don't know who was here last time and who wasn't, so just to update everyone, in 1992, there was the minor drainage transfer from the Sewage and Water Board to DPW, and that responsibility is for all the drain mains, 36 inches in diameter, beneath 36 inches diameter, and all the manholes and catch basins associated with them. In June of 2024, the governor signed Act 763, and that brought back responsibility to the board for this drainage system and it was effective January 1, 2025. The responsibility that we picked up was 1,600 miles of drain lines under 36 inches diameter, 50,000 drainage manholes, and 76,000 catch basins. Our existing responsibilities were the 210 miles of closed canals, that's 36 inches and above. And I'll say that, they're right now unfunded, and the 65 miles of open canals that are unfunded. And then we have 11 underpass drainage stations and 14 main pump stations that are managed by drainage ops. All right. This was the final, I didn't have this last, I don't know if I had this last time for you, the final numbers. These were the final numbers from 2025 all the way on the right. We did pretty well, we had 10,600,000 pounds of debris picked up. Catch basins clean, 9,044, drain lines clean, 93.7 miles. Did pretty well last year, and it's important to note that last year, that was with the contractor, we only had them for 5 months last year. So that was in 5 months. Our expenditure, and I probably have this in other slides too, but our expenditure was a little over $1 million a month with the contract at that point. That's when, I thought I was getting the $18.9 million, but it ended up being 9.5. And I'll show that in another slide. See, 2026 currently. So I knew I had it updated and I printed it out from this morning because we started the contractor again in the beginning of April. And our crews are doing pretty well right now. I knew the past week our crews have really been in some dirty spots. They've been picking up a lot of material. So you see, like the total for 2026 so far is 27.9. That's what it said then. But update as of today, we have basically 3.5 million pounds. We went up that quick in a week. So the contractor is in full swing because we've ramped them up. We're spending about $600,000 a month with them, and our crews. We more or less, we have the equipment working. Okay, we have 2 to 3 trucks working at any one time right now, which is pretty good for us. So the numbers are ramping up quickly. I think just regarding the stats, and this is what I had said before, we started in early April with CES. In the 5 months in 2025, they'll work. So the way we have it, they'll work, and Caitlin's been saying we'll match probably last year's numbers, and we will because we'll have the contractor working for 9 months at like $600,000 instead of 5 months at a little over $1 million. So we'll probably get about the same amount, the 10.5 million pounds, somewhere around there of debris collected for the year. To re-mention the pre-assessment, we target the dirtiest pipes. That's how, the contractor goes out and they pre-assess all the pipes. So we target those, and if in 2024, they were doing a lot more line cleaning, but they weren't actually getting as much debris. So, they went from 600 feet per day to 300 feet per day. Our Sewage and Water Board crews, our contractors stick to areas. We put them in areas that we pre-assess, that they pre-assess. And then our crews specifically go after like 311 calls. So that's why you'll see us have a higher number of catch basins cleaned because we're responding to 311 calls only. Sometimes that number you might see like, oh gosh, why didn't they do many this week? It's because we might be on an investigation task. And so we'll have one truck sitting there with my inspector, We're trying to find out if a line's broken or not. And that could take 2-3 days sometimes just to clean a line and inspect it and, you know, put the pipe down, sometimes put a rover down and find out where the pipe's broken. And that's, you know, we really need 10 crews of doing that. Really, we need a lot more of that. Neighborhoods clean currently. The contractor's finishing up in Treme Lafitte and it should say Carrollton and Lower Garden. We're pre-assessing Bywater and Marigny. And then we'll pre-assess the Audubon and Algiers. But what we will do, we just recently bumped up Audubon in the area where there was the water leak, because we know there's, you know, put a lot of material in there. So they're currently, they should be finished that probably in a week, and we're gonna jump to Audubon before we get into Bywater and Marigny. So we'll pull, or maybe it's just one crew, it's not a big area. So we're working out the details on that. This is kind of what our dashboard looks like. It's going to change up a little bit. If you see the 2024, it's in yellow, 25 and 26 in blue. I'll put the 25 in blue. That'll move up, and then 26 will be in green. So my IT guy's on vacation. When he gets back, he'll set that up, and you'll see that. I didn't have this last time because I didn't like fully complete the 2025 total expenditures. Because last time I didn't have the November and December payments in yet from IMF. Those came in, so I revamped the numbers. When I showed y'all in January, our available funds were at a negative, like 300,000. Then I got basically two $450,000 payments. So that shows that, you know, the funds, if you looked at it, you know, as that point in time, you know, after we got the payments, we were in the plus. But, you know, I'd spent that already because we didn't get those till March. Let's see,
What is capital versus O&M? How do you split that out? Is that
Other O&M?
so? Like capital is that equipment?
Capital, that's buying
or-
equipment. Yeah, it's equipment purchases. O&M's going to be like repairing the equipment.
Yeah, but it's mostly equipment, not
Yes, mostly equipment.
like lids and
No, we took on an inventory from DPW, so we're still using those, but we'll have to get into that pretty soon. I thought it was nice to see a recap of all the funding that's come in. So in 2024, it was specifically ARPA, 10 million. 2025, 3.7 from ARPA, 5.8 from the IMF funding. 2026, the estimated is 3.3 from traffic enforcement devices, and we've already received that. If you see, we've received 3.3. And so that the estimated for the IMF fair share is 6 million. So and we've received 1.3 date, but Gray, I haven't updated it, just 1.9, not the 1.3 that you see received. But if you look at the trend here, it's 10 million, 9.5, 9.3. I'm not sure really what 2027 holds because I'm not sure when we do get the traffic light camera money, and I'm not sure what it's going to be. So that's, you know, kind of puts me on edge a little bit. So I have to, you know, be wary of that, and if I, you know, need to pull the contractor down some and work or something, I have to make those decisions.
Yeah, that's a follow-up with the city. Talk with them like last month. So, and then I did the calculation of the traffic camera per month, maybe roughly 200,000. If I look at what you average this 3.3 that did come in and project that, if that's the same. So that's, you know, potentially 2.4 million for a whole year if it's 200. But they also talked about ramping up their traffic enforcement. So there's a lot of like sort of guessing at the numbers on that side of things. But I think the important thing was stay in contact with Steve Nelson and then discussion about additional capital funding I know is on the table too. So lots in process there.
Do we have a long-term sustainable funding strategy for this area, assuming some of these things are noted as one-time?
The only thing I see is the IMF funding and the traffic light camera.
Yeah,
Right.
that's right.
To your point about the traffic camera revenue, you know, it's not, you mentioned like potentially increasing enforcement. Obviously, we have no control over both the sort of planning and also implementation of the traffic camera program, but we are the beneficiary of that funding. So I'm curious to what extent we have conversations about how we can in some way influence that process, even as we don't have any direct control over it.
Yeah, well, it was topic of discussion with the deputy CAO, and then, of course, the stormwater fee, having dedicated funds would be the other longer-term strategy
Okay.
focus.
Got it. Got it.
I mean, that's the big push.
That's it. Okay. All right.
But I do just want it to be sort of understood that, the city could decide at any time to just turn off those traffic cameras, and at which point the tap would turn off in terms of the funding that we receive for this program. Or they could decide to double the number of traffic cameras, and we could suddenly get a lot more revenue, so.
Like you said, that has been dangled in front of us as a possibility.
Quick question about the 20% per year goal. Do we have any sort of interim milestones? I mean, I know we've talked about the challenges to that goal in previous meetings, but I'm wondering, have we set some interim milestones to track if we're, moving in the right direction?
It's linear for the most part. $1 million is going to clean 1%.
Okay.
So that
So
is pretty much gonna-
that's the
yeah,
goal.
the numbers that I show you, it's pretty linear. I think that's what you need. I do think there's several things at play. I think when you come through, you clean the whole system, and you're making some repairs at crucial areas to keep the water velocity flowing. I think you won't be cleaning it as much. I think it'll be cheaper coming around, like the second time, possibly,
Yep.
and then the third time, even cheaper than that. After you could turn some of that money into repairs instead of cleaning.
Okay.
I think you have positive results there, but
Goal, to make sure I'm clear, our goal is, did you say 1% per million?
yeah.
And that's
So the goal is 20%. So
20
I need $20
20
million.
million. So you're just like,
Only-
hey, we're only
get
reaching
that
for 20% if we have 20 million.
You-
But if you if you have 3 and you get 3%, you consider that a success.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
And so, yeah, in the areas I'm in, I consider that success. I think when you get to places like when I go to New Orleans East, it's a newer system, bigger pipes. I think if I'm spending $1 million right now to clean 1%, I think it might be something like maybe 800,000 or 750,000 to clean the 1% in that area. So I'm once we get there, I'll know, I get eventually, but
Yeah.
I look forward to those metrics.
Can we keep at that point? Can we go back to that map really quickly? Because I was going to wait to touch on that, but I think we're kind of developing why. Why is there such, sparse cleaning in District D?
So what it was specified, what the DPW started on was going after the hot spot 311s. Where are the 311s concentrated? Where's the most flooding occurring? And so that's where it's been going, and that's what you see. That's where we see the most flooding, right, in those areas. The 311 hotspots is where they started. We continued that. I think we'll continue that through this next round, and then we can start looking at maybe watershed areas.
So it's 311 requests, so not, when you're talking about you doing a pre-assessment of a neighborhood,
Yeah.
you're using the 311 data, but not actually the need, like, because let's say, for instance, they're not doing the 311s, then you wouldn't necessarily think of that as a hotspot, and like, how are you doing the pre-assessment?
The pre-assessments are from the 311 hotspots. And then we get, with the 311s that come in, our crews are handling those 311s as they come in. So I think, and when the contractor's finished in their hotspot, all those 311s basically are getting clean. They're getting.
So theoretically, if a population is not doing the 311s, District E, then we're not necessarily saying that the cleaning is going to be objectified. Because I saw the neighborhoods that you have coming up, you're bumping up, excuse me, Audubon and Algiers. I didn't see anything about the east, so that's why I was
Well,
curious.
and if I could just jump in really quickly. So, we did receive some reports, I think in early June, right, from about some catch basin issues in New Orleans East. Dave's team responded to that immediately, right?
Great.
There was another issue that you responded to last week. So as we're getting these immediate issues, his team is responding. I think what these are addressing is just his decades, right, of not being able to do what we needed to do.
Mhm.
And so, these are these highest areas. I'll let you finish that. I just wanted to let you know, like, we have been very responsive to those major
Right, no,
concerns.
I'm just
Yeah.
wondering, like, the planning portion of it.
Yeah.
It's just how are we planning to make sure that the 20% is equitable?
And I think that, so getting back then, and I actually, when I spoke in council, I told them this, that we're gonna follow that same methodology of the 311 hotspots, and then we'll go to like each council probably district, I'm gonna have to look at that, right? Is what kind of answering your question, and look at their watershed areas
Mhm.
and take that approach.
Okay.
Quick question about the dashboard. So to Caitlin's point, is this slide showing us all the cleaning? Or is this slide showing us
So-
right,
so this-
specific-
yeah, the area-
specific sort of strategic cleaning? And then also if we had a slide that was just looking at 311 responses, it would be different.
You see all the dots?
Yeah.
311 responses.
Okay.
The areas, those are the contractor.
Contractor cleaning. And then, so there's a follow-on question I
Yeah.
wrote down, actually. Are we,
This was my old slide, by the way.
It's
I don't
aging
know if I
well.
can put them up next time. It's just gonna be.
no,
big
this is
slides.
fine. This
All
is-
colored, huh?
Yeah, they're doing well.
The contractors, are they targeting specific types of drain issues, and like sewage and water board is handling in-house other types? I know you made the distinction between 311, and we're responding to that, and the contractors are responding to others, but are there like super problematic ones that we send to contractors because of? No?
Okay.
Okay.
I have two quick questions. Early in your presentation, you mentioned that the cost for the contractor went down from $1 million to $600,000. How did that affect the actual crews, though? Is that two less crews, three less crews?
At $1 million, a little over $1 million, I think we had eight to 10 crews out in one day with them, and now we have 5 to 6.
Okay.
Yeah, something like that.
All right. And then we talked about the actual amount of debris removed. And I just wanted to think from an efficiency standpoint, Caitlin, have you seen, has drainage improved based on once we see that debris is removed from lines?
Has drainage improved?
Yeah.
Definitely.
Okay.
Definitely improved. Yeah, yeah. It's, I have a slide that I'm gonna show you, like, coming up.
There's more.
Pictures, right?
Okay.
Pictures probably keep you all awake. And I'll attest to that, because I haven't heard from that neighborhood since.
Okay.
And it was bad,
All right. And,
really bad.
and is there a way to measure if like debris may be holding a particular area up without reports of 311? So like say in maybe areas like the lower Ninth Ward where you don't have a population increases, like is there a way for us to measure the efficiency of drainage?
That's a lot of inspection. That's not-
Okay, it has to be manually
not the
inspected.
Resources.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
I like the question.
Thank you for sharing.
As
that.
an engineer, yeah, I'd love to have that.
Yeah, I do think to Director Greenwich and the other points that are being made here generally, I think, because I also had written down, like, how are we prioritizing the neighborhoods long-term? Because I think, right, the neighborhoods that are listed, I think we all can kind of be like, oh, but there are places that are obviously missing from that list. And so I think the extent to which maybe if we can incorporate other data sources that may be available, whether it's like 911 flooding calls or the Real-Time Crime Center, I know will sometimes have some information about flooding that they see on their cameras so that we can somehow integrate that. But I do think maybe in like the next 6-month update, maybe some additional thought around how we could be more thoughtful about how we decide which neighborhoods are going to get prioritized in the future.
And we do get our reports from IC Change.
Yeah, right, and we do have that
So-
too, yeah.
And that helps out tremendously.
Yeah, but I think maybe next time we talk to you, just some further thought about how we're going to structure our planning going forward.
I think it's a watershed area.
Yeah.
I think that's how we look at it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think in that way I can do it in each district, and spread it out. So, but I'm you can call me anytime. You and I can sit down. Great questions. Appreciate it. This was kind of small lettering, so just drainage repairs. So in 2025, when we first got it, you see there's we'd gotten as we started, we got some results, and there was a lot of safety issues. You know, missing manhole covers, broken catch basins, holes over, you know, drain pipes. And so I had this, and I'd said this last time, I had $750,000 set aside for point repairs. But I wanted those point repairs to be, it's something I'll show you in a little bit, at those areas that I felt were really critical points that held water, you know, that backed up water into neighborhoods. I couldn't do any of those because I spent $750,000 on safety issues. Because you have, those take a higher priority than anything else. So I completed, you know, we completed 43 projects, which was good. That was nice. Recently, just in June, I have a crew loaned out for me from one of the zones. And this is also, I'm getting familiar with them, and then I'm gonna pull in more people, hire more people to be with them to make repairs in-house. And I'm gonna show you some slides on our first repair coming up, which was really fantastic. So far, they've completed that one pipe repair for me, which is a 15-inch pipe repair, which is really, it's gonna make it makes an impact to that neighborhood. A house connection with a roadway safety hazard repair. All of these that they're doing for me have been sitting there for years. You know, issues, and that's, I look at that too. How long has that been out there? We'll get on Google Earth. I'm like, oh my gosh, that goes back to 2021 or something like that. Let's push this up in the schedule. I'm currently routing a $500,000 contract for repairs. It's for you to sign right now. So I expect that in place in a couple months. And then what I spoke about earlier, you know, repairing the pipes will reduce the frequency of cleaning, as self-cleaning of pipes is partly determined by the variable of water velocity. So as water velocity slows, suspended solids settle in the pipe. You know, so if we can get these repairs coming, we're cleaning less often. Last time I had a big presentation for y'all with pictures and everything on the Treme-Lafitte area, which represented 1.5% of the minor drainage system. The engineering firm that I was working with, they had reported 347 repair and restoration projects, totaling approximately $8 million. So there's a lot of small things in there also. And we did a small area on Carrollton near Leonidas, because we definitely having some issues there. And so a few projects totaling approximately $700,000. If we do get funding, we'll definitely look at that as a high priority repair in that area. Our equipment, like I said, 2 to 3 vac trucks working at any one time. There's frequent maintenance on these units. You know, there's a lot of moving parts to them. You know, they're $500,000 to $600,000 machines, and it's a lot of moving parts. I think we're doing a better job with the maintenance. It's been nice with support services that they have one. They have one mechanic, a diesel mechanic, who actually takes the truck out and works for us on the weekends and sometimes after hours. He's fantastic. He's a great operator, but he's also working on the equipment for me just about nonstop. So that's made a big improvement with me keeping equipment out on the street. We did receive a small 3-yard vac truck from the zones that'll be used primarily in the French Quarter. It's in really good condition, not many miles on it. So I should get that back in about 3 weeks. It's out having its DEF system worked on. And then cleaning goal, 2% of the system per year per truck. So that would go a long way in-house. They're starting to do better. They are. I think it's a process to get used to, the heads that you use to pull the material back through the pipe and step cleaning. It's a process. The contractor does it really well. We're getting better. Our flatbed truck, it's currently replacing catch basin and drainage manhole covers as needed. That's in the shop. I hope we get that back in about 3 weeks. We use it a lot, so it's used so much. Actually, some of the wires burned up on the crane. Sweeper vacuum truck. This is the truck that we're gonna purchase, and it's a small street sweeper truck. Holds 7 yards though, which is nice. And I've talked about this before. It got put on hold when our funding dropped. So but it's back in routing right now. It's in finance, so they're pushing it through for us. It's a sweeper truck with a swing arm that comes out, and it has magnets on it that will pick up the catch basin or drainage manhole cover, swing it to the side. There's a front tube that'll come out, drop in, it'll vacuum out the catch basin or manhole. It has jets on it also, so it can wash it out, and then, puts it back on. This unit could service, 15 to 20,000 catch basins per year. So if it, just looking at it, it's a great piece of equipment. I don't, maybe we're 8 months out from getting it, something like that. I don't have the update. The company is Boucher that makes it. They're from Germany. They came in, we gave them a drainage manhole lid, a catch basin lid to ship to Germany so that they can work out all the parts, make sure that their magnets and the swing arm can get it out of the way. So that's in process. But I think it could really be what they call a game changer.
Yeah.
So we'll see. We're going to be the guinea pigs. They're really working hard with this because they think it's going to be a big seller in North America for them. So that's kind of exciting.
To get the video on social media of our guys driving that new truck.
That's awesome, yeah.
One driver. You don't need a CDL.
Oh.
Yeah, that helps. It's future expectations. Y'all talked about the drainage fee. Aim for our 20%. Create more awareness regarding like the citizen responsibility of cleaning the 1.5 feet past the curb line. This is per ordinance, right? And elimination of grass debris from entering the drainage system per municipal code of ordinances. We do on our 311s. We're looking at everyone. And so if there's an issue that we see that's the issue, that note, the ordinance is attached to the response that goes to the residences. So that's how we're trying to make everyone aware of that. Expansion of our repair division within the department, working on it. And then, future is the asset management system that we'll be utilizing with the Sewage and Water Board and their relationship to the call center information. I think, let me say something about that real quick, is that we worked really, really hard. 311 does not talk to the asset management, the city's asset management that we're using. So we've done some workarounds to get it to talk somewhat to where it's updating. Like we can do a little more than once a week. We might get there, but that's been really, really big with closing out 311s and seeing them in the asset management. Before it's like a spreadsheet. It's really difficult. This is going a long way, and this is why we're starting to get into the backlog a little bit, because we're pulling them in. And it's just much more efficient for us. So it's been a big change, and that's been in place for about a month and a half. So there was a lot of work involved from my team, Javier and Kyle, to get that done. It was really a big effort, a good effort. Let's see. I mentioned this early that flushing the drain lines for the 311 points. We're not closing 311s when we're stuck on some inspection jobs. All right, so since January 2025, we've analyzed over 6,273 311 calls, and we've closed over 4,477. That includes closures like if we're going to put them to another utility. Some of them, you'll get the requests in, and it's really not for us. So we'll have to push them on to another utility. A lot of them are duplicates, or instead of, they'll list it as a catch basin issue where there's no drainage on the street, but it's really a ditch. It's a ditch, with streets that don't have drainage. So those get pushed on. That's included in 4477. So that's, these numbers, they're going up. We're closing more now 311s than we were before, basically because of that connection we have, which is really great. Important to note, during the implementation of CNO's asset management that we're using, we were given the option to bulk close them all. We chose not to, and I think that was a good choice. I said, no, I want to do that also because I didn't want to, if there's a 2021, 2022, 2023, I don't want to get rid of the history. If I can put that history on that asset, it helps. I want that information, So that's why we didn't do it. The city, clean slate, right? Start new. Wow, that sounds great. That's fantastic. But I wanted the history. And I think it's important to have that. Many 311s that are called in during and after storm events are due to debris covering the storm inlets and blocking catch basins, and some are duplicates. So just kind of important to note, a lot when you see a lot of them coming in after storms, it's basically because the ordinance, right, isn't being adhered to. You know, it's just people aren't cleaning their curb. Okay, well, here, this is something I can wake y'all up, because I know it's been a long day for y'all. All right, so just some slides just to kind of show you what we deal with, what we look at, and how we can prioritize things. This is on the left. That's a Cypress route through a drain line. That's on Leslie Lane right there on Veterans. That street holds water, right? Just holds water. It's not good. Eventually, I'm going to try to come in here, maybe get a cutting nozzle to cut a little bit out to give them a little bit relief. You know, I got to watch out. I can't use the chains on this. If you see the pipe condition, it wouldn't be good. I'm going to use what's called the Reaper nozzle, and it just pierces through concrete if it has to. So I'm going to try that there and see what happens. I got to get the nozzle though. On the right-hand side, this is when we do get repair money, significant repair money. This is the issue that I find is definitely a high priority. This is a connection to one of our box culverts. Okay, so this is coming in, you know, from a watershed area into our box canal culvert. This is what you see. If you see the pipe that's intact in front, that's encased inside our canal wall. Okay, because our canals, most of them are on pipes, so they don't move. What you see behind it is the differential settlement of the soils, right?
We're in the box.
You're in the box looking upstream. And so you'll see how that pipe's either sheared off or in the back, it drops out. So really, this is big. And our repair our first repair in-house dealt with one of these, which is big. So this is what we want to make sure is in the asset management system, high critical priority, and get these taken care of. Here we go. So it's a catch basin on your left, 400 Dauphine Street. So this is what, you know, we see all the time right now, right? Hopefully in the future there'll only be a few bottles or something when we come back around. On the right in the middle, Camp Street, that's the neighborhood where they were getting water like just into like their businesses and stuff right there on Camp Street and get the cross street. But I haven't heard from them since we cleaned this out. And this, you know, of course, that's the line looks like that too, right? So it took a while, but we got that clean and it looks nice and clean now. On the right, that's an after weather observation. I'll get a 311 for that. So that's kind of the things that, you know, we'll see. A lot of times the city will come through with the street sweeper and clean it up. So the things you find, like in the lines. On the left, someone left a line plug in there. That's what you see on the left. You see the little thing, it blows up and it seals the pipe so that you can do clean stuff. It was on First Street, left there, no one picked it up. That's our cleaning line, and we have a nozzle on the end of it that goes through there. It's going over a big wood block. It's just stuck in the line. So we did get that out. So we got that out, made a tremendous difference. You want a question?
Yes, I have a question. It's not related to the pictures though, but I wanted to make sure I ask it before I have to run. So have we assessed the impact of community engagement when it comes to catch basin cleaning? And Caitlin knows why I'm asking this, because I had one of my first community experiences doing cleaning with my neighbors. It was really an incredible experience for me, but it seemed to make a lot of people really happy to be able to participate in the process. And there was a proposal during our meeting to do this regularly and to try to spread out across more. I'm in the lower garden, to spread out across more of the lower garden and monitor it ourselves. And this is people volunteering wanting to do this as a part of the neighborhood association's efforts. We do park clean, do a lot of other stuff. And so I don't know if that is truly impactful in the grand scheme of things, or if it, okay.
Yeah,
So,
very impactful.
okay, so, and it would be good to be able to concretize that into some metrics of some sort if we could, but the strategic question is, how are we leveraging that methodology and the assets that are neighborhood associations and willing residents to help us with keeping catch basins clean? Like, is that a part of our strategy, and kind of what does that strategy look like?
Well, it's city ordinance to keep to keep it clean, okay? So it's part of our strategy. I mean, it's so very important. Our strategy, so what I'm doing, like with some of the neighborhood cleanings, is tell me where you cleaning the curb line. I'll come in and I'll clean that catch basin for you.
I heard that.
You do your part. We'll do what we can, because that's our asset. The curb's not our asset.
Yeah.
But no, I think that's working together. It's working together, and I think that's the way we look at it.
Yeah. So what I'm really pushing for, and the question I'm really asking is, what is the community engagement strategy? Because I think it seems like there's potential there. To the degree a community association is trying to put a program and navigate all of this on their own, right? It seems to me we would be able to drive that or support that or incentivize that or reward it or something to make more neighborhood associations get involved in this. So the strategy is probably more of a community engagement strategy to make an impact, since you said it's impactful.
Yeah, and so Leslie Harris's district, Matt does a good job. He when they get together and they do that, they let me know. They'll send me a list of where they've cleaned, and I'll go in and I'll clean behind them. What I want them to do, and they didn't do it this past time, is I want them to actually, if they clean in front of a catch basin and they notice that it needs cleaning, is call it in the 311 so it gets put into our asset management.
Yep.
So that didn't happen the last time. That's probably a great thing for us to engage with them and teach them how to do it. It was kind of tough. We really couldn't teach the guys how to do it. It was kind of tough. So we've got to find a better way to do that.
Yeah, Caitlin, you got
If I may add, just quickly. One, you're right, we can teach them. I think too, especially when you have the community involved, that maybe we highlight them. Maybe we have Sierra make a Instagram post with them standing in front of it, and maybe we even bring pizza or cake or something to do a good job. I don't know. But something to say, hey, thank you. And that's what communities like, to be acknowledged that, hey, we're doing something.
We bring a flush truck.
Yeah.
Well, with cake, but okay.
If I may briefly, I think this was something I had on my list of what I wanted to bring up today is the last time we had this discussion, I brought up the Adopt a Catch Basin program that the city had started back in 2017. And if we were going to take that on, I haven't received any, follow-up on whether we are or not taking that on. And so I think it seems like that is actually the proper, thing to start on this, is making sure that portal is still active and that we have some level of control over it, because part of the way that functioned is that it was linked with the 311 system, and if someone adopted a catch basin and they cleaned it, there would be a notification. If they reported that it was not working, that would generate a 311 request.
Okay.
And so that the system already exists somewhere, and it's still online, it's still active, but I don't know if now that we are managing that system, if we are receiving that data, or if, but it seems like reinvigorating that program and promoting it, and perhaps partnering with the environmental affairs team on the great work they're doing, would be a great way to start getting to where Director Scruggs is sort of talking about.
And so my thoughts on this, and I've talked to Javier about this, he came from the city, is that my concern is just removing the catch basin cover. My biggest concern with it. They're heavy, they're awkward, they can fall in.
Yeah.
That's my biggest concern. Other than that, we'd have to figure that out. Once it's off and you're cleaning in there, no big deal. So,
We didn't touch the cover, Caitlin advised, please do not touch the cover. Please don't touch the cover, because I was like, are we supposed to take the cover off?
No.
But Director Antrim's point is super well taken, that we already have infrastructure on how to do this and leverage it, then we certainly should. Sierra was there.
I'm here.
Okay. Were you gonna?
There's things that Dave and I have kind of talked about doing a catch basin video. We're getting that back up and running as well, just cleaning your catch basin. There's an area of the city that I've noticed that the catch basins, and Dave and I have kind of been back and forth on communication, are clogged, like it several blocks in a row. My idea for that is when they schedule that, we can also go out, do a social media video. We're out here, we're cleaning the catch basins. This is how you can clean and assist and help that as well. Because that would be a block, several blocks, honestly, from Claiborne to Broad, for example, on St. Bernard, that would be impacted because there is standing water there from the rain that happened 2 days ago. So we know that that's an issue. We know that's an area of concern. We can get out there, we can do a video, we can do a post and educate people on what they can do and what they shouldn't do when cleaning a catch basin.
Okay. I know that you had put a slide up about the drainage fee. One of the things that I feel like at some point, it seems like we're kind of measuring our success based upon the 311 calls and reduction, but is there any measurement of pooling of water and the levels, so that way when a drainage crew comes out, they can say that they're reducing the pooling by X amount of,
That's tough. And you can, on our website, you can pick like the water level, but it's so subjective.
Yeah,
Okay,
so
okay,
you got
okay.
different rain intensities,
Mhm,
and you never have the same storm twice.
Yeah.
Mhm,
There's
mhm.
nothing to compare
Someone
it to, really.
might not know the difference between feet and
Mhm.
inches.
Yeah, yeah.
This feels like an area where no news is good news. You know, if
I see what you're saying.
if you've been complaining for years about your catch basin not working, and then suddenly the complaints stop coming in, it's
Mhm.
either because that person moved or because
Like at Camp-
or because it stopped. You know,
Like
but
at Camp Street.
yeah.
Everybody gonna call and says, yeah, it's working great, good,
Right.
good job.
Right. But I mean, I think back to the Adopt a Catch Basin program actually did, it would send you a notification after it rained and say, did your catch basin work? And if you said yes.
That's cool.
If you said yes, and it was an open 311 request on that case, it would close it. Wow. So like, yeah.
He says, wow.
I'm sure it's just an issue of like getting the city to just transfer that asset to us. And so
Yeah.
I'm sure it would require some engagement with IT and all of that, but like,
Yeah, well, I don't know what they were using, but now that they have a new asset management, it might not be connected anymore. Yeah, don't know. But it's a good one.
Well, you're also measuring the tons of garbage
Yes.
that you're pulling out, so I mean, that's.
It's a good measurement.
Yeah.
and I also think like Sierra, to your point, like that picture on Camp Street, I think is super powerful. Like just posting that on Instagram alone, I think would get a lot of engagement and a lot of folks thinking about what they're choosing to leave on the ground.
Right, and we are doing a lot more on social media with
Yeah.
the catch basins, with other areas as well. The paving that we posted yesterday just got tons of engagement. So yeah, we're working on getting that activity.
I have a lot more of those photos.
Are you almost?
Yeah. I am. I'm getting a lot of
I'm not trying. I'm not.
questions.
Just.
All right, 2-gallon gas can came out. I love the Dixie beer. I had to put that on there. That's cool. It's just historic. Okay, this was our first repair. This was at Conrad at Canal. It was like this for 3 years on the left. We have a hole, just a gaping hole sitting there. It was a connection to the, you see the manhole, drainage manhole is the pointer?
Yep.
This is a drainage manhole. This was the connection. This pipe was completely dropped out. It was gone. So we connected a new piece of pipe there. It's 15-inch pipe. So that's draining directly into our drainage canal also. This manhole goes straight to the drainage canal. Just huge improvement for that neighborhood. It's going to be great. I'm not going to hear anything from them. I'm going to go in and clean the pipes right behind it, because some mud probably came in from the repair. But that's just I don't know. That's a great repair.
Yeah.
This is what I would like to see happening every single day. So, a great one. So, and then my last photo is Happy Mardi Gras. That's beads, and that's on St. Charles. That's the little trough drain that runs along St. Charles. It's outside this building. I had our guys clean it. The same thing happens. It's a small trough. Beads go in. They don't go anywhere. They're there. They stay there. This is what it looks like from terrible design.
Does that get cleaned after Mardi Gras on Clockwork, or is that, what is the timing between Mardi
So
Gras?
I know this needs to happen, like after Mardi, we will go check, I'll send, CES did this. So I will go have them check it out after Mardi. It's one of those things that we have to have recurring. When we get our asset management, there will be, a pop-up for that, a timer, whatever you want to call it, for us to go out and look at it.
Yeah, I will add on this specific note, I'm glad you put this in here. I was noticing this, when 2017, 18, when there was a big sort of push to talk about catch basins, annually DPW would install additional screening over those channel drains on St. Charles Avenue. And they did it for maybe 3 or 4 years. And I've noticed the last couple of years that they have not been doing that. Obviously, they may argue it's no longer their responsibility to do that. But that does beg the question of, is that our responsibility, and is that something that's helpful and we should be doing going forward? And if so, do we have the resources to do that? I'm not necessarily expecting an answer right now, but I do think in 8 months out, it's a good time to start thinking about, how do we, as an organization, sort of optimize our drainage operations around Mardi Gras in particular. I know that they do still put down the gutter buddies on like the big catch basins on St. Charles in a lot of places, but I think it is something that we need to start thinking about as being, it is our responsibility now.
Yeah, I don't know how much they pick, how much that helped.
Yeah.
Screens. So if I have to clean it anyway,
right,
I'd rather leave it open to drain.
And I think that's what my request would be, that, there's a thoughtful plan. That is, either we're gonna screen them or we're not gonna screen them, but we're definitely gonna come back, a week after Ash Wednesday and make sure that all those lines are clean.
Yeah, I don't particularly like the gutter buddies during Mardi Gras season.
Yeah.
I think we just leave it open, let it drain, suck out all the beads after.
Yeah.
I think that because a lot of times when we're cleaning up after the storm, when we have the street sweepers and they're hitting those and taking them up anyway. They're damaging them. It's an initial investment. It's a lot of work to put them out, make sure they're secured right. I mean, people, you can trip over them more.
Yeah.
I would rather just come back through and clean.
Yeah.
And then I'm cleaning, So hopefully I'm getting mess throughout the year cleaned up also.
Great.
One question on
Go ahead.
back to the box culvert situation, are we looking, you're talking about, replacing those connections. Are you looking at any sort of design changes to prevent that in the future? 'Cause theoretically.
Yes, absolutely, yes, and I've talked to our engineering. I would like to, if we're doing that and we're using boards to break up, to have our, an area where we safely work, it's to make our shoring. It's either, I'm gonna take some pile cutoffs, maybe 6-foot pile cutoffs or something like that I can get cheap and push those underneath the pipe, definitely under the bells before we put it in. Yeah, and I had it done. The photo I showed you here, and I'm glad you mentioned this. I had them take some of the shoring boards and I had them put one here, one there, and then every 4 feet underneath that. They act like piles.
Yeah, it's kind of like the approach slab on a bridge. I mean, it's gonna settle. It's just trying to mitigate that.
And it's very, very important. So the ones that I see where I have to do like on North Broad or Claiborne, I'd much rather break or settle out inside the neighborhood than underneath those major streets. So yes, yeah. Actually, I'm supposed to get that with engineering. Hopefully I change that standard plan to show that and some issues, yeah.
Okay.
And what about flexible connections?
I've
Have
used
you
those
considered that?
in Jefferson.
HDP, like that can move one long length. I've thought about
No,
that
I mean
also.
the connector itself, like a rubber connector.
The connector, they have those, they can have like an offset to
Yeah.
them, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cast iron pipe, they make some that'll have
Yes.
pretty nice deflection.
Yeah, they're nice, yeah.
Well, if there's no other questions, I think this was, as always, a great presentation, Dave. As I said, I think that some things I'd like to see, maybe we'll just have you come back every 6 months if that's all right with you.
Yes,
I would love to see some additional information next time about how we're going to be thinking about those priority areas going forward. Also, an update, whether it's from you or from other staff on the Adopt a Catch Basin program and how we can better adopt that into our protocol or any other plans that we could come up with on our own to further support neighborhood efforts to clean catch basins and support enforcement of the ordinances on curb cleaning. The last note I made was maybe if we can increase the robustness of your reporting on sort of the work orders, similar to the reporting on like number of catch basins cleaned, things like that. Like if we could do, maybe Gray can sort of advise on the FNA report a little more on like a graph that shows monthly, like how many through and run requests you get, how many you're closing, how many are duplicates, like so that we can get just a little bit more information on how we're tracking that information over time, so we can see that progress and communicate it better to
I'll see what we can do there. Like, when we get our own asset management in, it's gonna be fantastic. We'll make
Yeah.
reports. It's, see what we can work out.
Sounds good.
All right.
Yeah. Hey, thank you. I'm always long-winded. I'm sorry. I know. I know you're all hungry. So, but I appreciate
right.
it. Thank you.
Yeah, do we have any public comment? No public comment. All right. So I will now ask for a motion to adjourn. Second?
Second.
All right, all those in favor? Any against or abstention? Great. All right, motion carries. We are now adjourned.